Let's get hyped now. We've had enough sad, dour, depressing kind of news. Let's get hyped, baby.
Hail to the fucking king, baby. Let's go. Baby
we
goat is in the building.
we got ourselves a nice 10-minute chunk of Tears of the Kingdom gameplay. Raw gameplay. And by God, let me say this. Let me say this. You all know I've recently played Breath of the Wild, played through it. It was my second time trying to go through it. First time actually completing the game. I enjoyed it. I
Cynic
was like,
Tyler has entered the chat.
I didn't think like, oh yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was the goat though, but I enjoyed it. I saw what it was going for. I had fun with it. Thought things with it could have been done better. So going into Tears of the Kingdom, I've been excited for. I've been looking forward to it, but I've had my concerns regarding this game. Weapon degradation. Will it be back? Will it not? Will it be better if it is back? Will the open world be, interesting and exciting to explore? I've had my concerns, but this 10-minute chunk of gameplay basically wiped away every concern I had with this game. And I am very excited for it. This will be my Breath of the Wild. I'm almost positive of
Listen, here's the thing. I'm so excited for this game. I just want to put that disclaimer out there. But
that.
also, it's weird because I think Breath of the Wild haters are now looking forward to it more. But then some weirdo Breath of the like some people are just like, oh, that's it. And it's like some people it's not enough. Um, Let me just say that first of all, this is exactly what I wanted out of Breath of the Wild trailer. I did not want some or demonstration. I did not want some just like lame trailer that's like trying to get us hyped. This trailer is 100% what this game is about, or well, what Breath of the Wild was about. So it's just more of the same, but it's not just more of the same. This is what made Breath of the Wild the GOAT, is like understanding these physics, putting these systems into the game, and letting us go wild with just how great the level design is, with just how beautiful everything is, that insane sound design, having the pedigree and the legacy behind Zelda, and then that polish that Nintendo puts in everything. And then
Right.
here they're just like, guess what? We went more wild. Um,
Right. And let me lay the ground real quick on like how they went more wild. So like this trailer, we see, Link's on the ground at first, and then we see he sees like this rock fall down from the sky, which we've seen this kind of happen in trailers before. And then he goes up to it, and then he uses one of the new abilities called Recall, which rewinds time, which we've seen it in the past in previous trailers real quickly, but we didn't know the name of it. So he does recall on the rock, climbs on top of it, and it sends him up into the sky. And it's all happened seamlessly. No load times, no cutscene, nothing. Just seamlessly sends him up into the sky. And then it stops and he jumps off and floats onto one of these sky islands that we've been seeing in all these trailers. And then he's up there. He comes across an enemy, fights it with a tree branch. He fights it. And then the tree branch is about to break. This and we discover the second new ability called Fuse. We'll get hyped about it in a moment, but he discovers Fuse, which now you can take literally, seemingly, any two items in the game and fuse them together to make a new weapon, a better weapon, a stronger weapon, a longer weapon. It's wild. So he takes the stick which is about to break, and fuses it to a boulder, which now improves the durability of the tree branch that he had, and now it's like a hammer type weapon. He takes a mushroom, a puff room, I think is what it's called, and fuses it to the shield. So then when the enemy hits the shield, a puff of smoke appears, and then he's hitting it. He can go stealth around it. Super cool stuff. We then also discover a third ability, which was teased in the last trailer. It's called Ultra Hand, which allows you to basically take different items and combine them together to make different structures and objects. So we see them take three different logs, and he puts them together, puts two fans on them, hits the fan, and now he has a makeshift boat to get across a like small little mini lake, pond, river type thing. And then the last ability we see is Ascend, which we also kind of got teased a while ago as well in one of the first trailers for Tears of the Kingdom, where now if you go in with, there are some limitations for this, but wherever there is a ceiling, you can use Ascend and you will go right up through the ceiling to the top of that structure. So as they said in the demo, you can go inside a cave that's at the bottom of a mountain, use a sin to go to the ceiling and get to the very top of the mountain without having to climb it at all. Absolutely freaking wild. And then we see him jump down from the Sky Island and literally, well, actually, not jump down. He got knocked down from an enemy that also had a fused weapon, which was a fan, knocked off and just seamlessly falling back down to land. No load screens, no cutscenes, and surprisingly, not a single frame rate hitch at all. Like stable frame rate the entire time, right back down to the surface. Wild stuff here. Wild stuff. Like it blew my mind watching all this.
Yeah, so it did the Nintendo thing. It did. I mean, like, to me, none of this stuff is new, or like it's all new, but I mean, like, what they're doing isn't new in the sense that this is what Breath of the Wild did. It was just like, okay, there, if you're solving a puzzle, if you're doing something, and we've set these are the boundaries and the rules of that. If you can find a way to like use those rules to twist everything around on us and solve puzzles or do this or do that in unconventional ways, we're going to allow you to. And it's in the Nintendo way where everything just like feels polished and fun to do and also work. And then in this game, they said, well, why couldn't we do it this way? Why couldn't we do it that way? And then their like clear answer was, well, there's no reason. Let's just do it. Let's just make it. They're letting us go wild with this thing. Just, I seeing this has made me happy that we didn't get the rumored. Remember, like a year after Breath of the Wild, where they were just basically like, well, they're using the same they're using the same like engine, and it's going to be basically the same landscape. So we could get a Majora's Mask here, and like I'm glad we didn't get that
Mm-hmm.
because they wouldn't have gotten to make this intentionally broken game the way they did, which is like to say if you just normally can glue weapons together, you'd be like, that game's broken. But it's like, but it's not. That's the intended design. And it also seems like they created workarounds for people's basically they created workarounds for the haters' complaints while also not ruining the integrity of what it was before. Like weapon degradation still very much exists, but fusing the weapon literally basically recharges it. It's not like, oh, it's more broken because you fused an almost broken weapon with something new. It's like brand
Right.
new, basically lease on life for that
Right.
weapon.
And
And
I love that right there because I got used to the weapon degradation in my most recent playthrough of the game, and while I didn't like it, I was like, okay, you know what? Like it's not as bad as it was my first two attempts playing the game. Like I got used to it. I was like, all right, it's fine. I would have preferred to be better, or at least prefer, a way like to to fix the weapons, I guess you could say, in some way, shape, or form. But I was like, fine with it, whatever. See it here, come back here, and the fuse way thing you can do with it. It's like it answers my problems with it in a way, in such a Nintendo way or a Zelda way, where it's like it's so creative. It's more creative than just go to the person and they fix your weapon and then you're good to go. It's like, oh no, I can take this, combine it with something else I see in the world, and have a better weapon or a more creative weapon at my disposal than I would have otherwise. And I can do it anywhere with just about anything if I want to. And like even with the bow and arrow, like you combine food items with your arrows to have different arrows. So like
yeah,
I was like, this is super cool. And I love this new system because it's going to push the creativity, the imagination that you can have with what you could do in the game. And this is going to be my kind of take that I think you might find blasphemous or might take issue with, but stick with me here. It's just my take on it. Okay. You have hot takes. I have a hot take right here. I feel like the everyone talks about how Breath of the Wild, oh yeah, all the creativity and the systems and everything, how it lets you do anything you want in any type of way. You can approach different encounters however you want to. Yes, but I feel like in Breath of the Wild, you kind of had to go out your way, or I'm gonna say bend over backwards, but more so like just go out your way to have like the super creative, unique ways to approach different encounters. It wasn't necessarily, how can I say, it wasn't necessarily something that was um not given to you. I wasn't something that's necessarily straightforward and baked into the, I guess, encounters of that you would come across in the game
Yeah, that's
in a
why
way
it's
that
called
this.
being creative.
Well, here's the thing, like you had to go out your way, so it ended up, to me at least, if I wanted to be like that, it's like, well, it's more work to do that than I when I could just do this instead. Like I'm going out my way to do all this just to kill 4 enemies when I could just take them out normally, as opposed to here, Tears of the Kingdom. Stick with me here, Tears of the Kingdom. That get creative, have fun, get wild and wacky with how you want to take enemies out. It's like, no, you don't have to go out your way to do that. We want you to do that. So go ahead, do that, and have fun doing that. Like it is
Well,
intentionally there. And I'm
that's
very much more on board with it here than I was with Breath of the Wild, where,
that's
it was
how
there.
making a video game works. They didn't realize people were going to take, they set laws, rules, and physics of this world. And I'm sure they knew, like, oh, people will have some fun with it. And people took that game and ran with it way more than Nintendo ever probably, that development team especially ever thought they would. So then they did the smart thing of, instead of like leaning, like going against it and being like, how dare you? Like, we wanted to have a serious world or whatever. And they go, said, hey, people love this shit. Let's bake more of that into the game, give them a bigger toolbox, and let them expand on that. Now,
And I'm happy
there's
with that.
something nice about restriction, and this is why I feel like I could. There's two reasons. Obviously, Breath of the Wild I could still prefer over Tears of the Kingdom. Obviously being the first is special, and I think that matters, right? Creating the innovation rather than innovating on top of that, just iteration. There's a reason first often hold people, a fond spot in people's heart beyond nostalgia. It's just more impressive to do it the first time, but also there's something nice about restrictions sometimes where it goes like, these are the rules, and it's fun to create chaos and play within them. And not even just like attack wise, but puzzle wise, like, going like, oh shit, I can do this way, even though, because like for me, a lot of times it was, I have no idea how they want me to actually beat this puzzle. But what if I do this instead? And then it just let me do it because that was within the system, the physics of the game. It was like, okay, you beat our own logic here. We can't tell you no, that's not how it works the way a lot of video games do.
Yeah, I
Whereas
will
like,
say the thing I
go
just
ahead.
said about like kind of having to bend over backwards to like get creative and all, that definitely was way more intentional with the puzzles in Breath of the Wild, as opposed to like the
Combat,
combat
yeah.
in the world, where it's like you really got to bend over backwards to get like super
Yeah,
creative with
and I
combat
didn't
and
try to
all
get
like that.
creative with combat, to be clear.
With puzzles, yeah, like you kind of you it's like, all right, if I don't know, let me see if this works. And like I enjoyed that with the puzzles, with the combat and everything. I was just like, why the hell am I gonna like do like 5 different things just to get this funny kill on these guys when I could just instead just do this? Whereas now it's like, no, 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 get creative and get wacky. Here, we want you to do that. Go ahead. You don't have to bend over backwards. And I'm so on board with that.
Now, see, and so that leads into my second point here, which was sometimes being told there is no rules makes you want to do it less.
Mhm.
It's the old, if your parents just let you run wild, you would be like, eh, you do it a little bit and then you're like, it's not as fun. You know what I mean? Not having those like laws and physics. Well, you're gonna have the physics, but not having those laws of the universe in place as much may take away from some, not even just the novelty, but just the pure joy you get. It may just be like a shorter burst of joy that wears out. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying I could see that being a reason why overall Tears of the Kingdom has less favor for me. Now, I think the counter to that is like, you know, it doesn't, I don't want it to feel like Just Cause. If that makes sense. I don't want it to be like, oh, let me go, blah, 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 explosions everywhere. Like, I want there to be a narrative structure and a
Mhm.
reason to why we're doing the things we're doing. And like, I know it's not going to be some dumb lore thing, but like, treat it like a Zelda game still, but give us the wackiness within it. That's, I think, how you be successful with it. And again, I'm not questioning Nintendo's judgment here. All we have to go off of is this 10-minute demo. I'm just playing devil's advocate for why it could be fun, but ultimately not make it a better game, essentially.
Yeah. And one of the concerns people had, that, I mean, I think you mentioned it earlier, like how do you make this world feel fresh and new when it's the same ground map essentially. The sky is different entirely, but like
Yeah,
the same
obviously they're like, yeah,
ground
we had
map.
a new stuff. It's like, but is the
The, the,
actual world we're going to spend most of our time on any different?
right. And like, I mean, people have posted side by side screenshots of like same area in both games, and there's a bit of difference here and all like that. And while like appearance wise, things might not be different, even on the ground, there's still things that we don't know much about. Like what's up with those things that have been like engraved in the ground? What's up with these new towers that's going on there? But like even just getting around the world, I think, and exploring it is going to feel so much different because of each of these new abilities that we have. I feel like they're going to make it so much more fun and feel like more fresh getting around. Like the ascend thing, it's gonna be a godsend if I want to go up a mountain and it's raining. It's like, all right, let me find a cave and just ascend my way up.
Yeah.
Um, even like the ultra hand thing. All right, I want to like put some things together. I don't want to have to worry about a horse. Let me put some things together and maybe make a car or some sort or whatever. Like it's gonna be so cool and so much more fun getting to play with these things and explore the world and see what new things the world has to offer that let me take advantage of these new abilities as well. So like it alleviated my concerns in that regard too. To an extent, there's still like we still have to actually play the game and see what is different in the world, but I'm feeling better about the world be feeling fresh, even though it's the same map in its core and essence and all like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the
It's
story is the last thing where we're like, all right, what's going on with the story now? We still don't really know anything about that. Dungeons as well. Like, are dungeons going to be there? Are we going to have shrines again? What's that going to be like and
people
all? But
people need to chill about dungeons. Shrines are hot take. I like shrines more. I like it bite sized. I don't need some long winded. I get why people like dungeons, and I get that they're like, oh well, it's like harder and there's more care put into it, and I get that. And like, I'm not saying every shrine had importance, but like the good ones were good. I like the bite sizedness of these shrines and that they're littered throughout, and I have to find them instead of it being like you have to go through these 6 dungeons, and and it's like I don't know. I guess it depends on your playstyle ultimately. Like what do you prefer? I think a lot of the backlash to shrines where people were just like, this isn't Zelda, where versus like people actually analyzing like, what do I actually prefer? Do I prefer this long-winded thing? It's like difficult and makes me throw my controller, or like the good thing about shrines is you could just leave and keep beating the game. And I think some people also had it's hard for them to get over that mental hurdle of like to beat a Zelda game, you should have to beat certain amount of dungeons. You should have to go through all this hard stuff. Whereas like, and I think that's something from software learned with Elden Ring from Breath of the Wild is like, hey, you can keep challenge in a game, but also just give people the ability to walk away from it, to say, yeah, fuck this. I don't need to do this. You know what I mean? Like there's
yeah,
only a core amount of things you actually have to do to beat this game. You can find workarounds without it, by all means, go for it. It's that freedom to just like overall it's like a life philosophy. Like you don't have to do the hard things. Everybody's telling you keep running your head into a wall, but guess what? You don't actually have to do them. And I think that implemented in a design philosophy from studios as talented as the team behind Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and then of course from software doing Elden Ring is like when you see like really cool stuff emerge.
question for you. Last question about this. What are you looking forward to like fusing? Like, what do you want to like try and fuse
Weapons
together?
on weapons, swords on swords. That's like where I'm like, how
Double
weird can we get
sword.
with this? Yeah, double sword bow. You know what I mean? Like, will it let you shoot a sword as like basically an arrow with your
Ooh,
bow and arrow? You know what I mean? Like, let's get weird with this.
that'd be funny. It's like I'm just imagining like you have the long sword attached, fused with like a great sword.
Send the
Just like
mass
what?
or send the master sword careening at an enemy as an arrow. You know what I mean? Like,
That'd be wild. Like, I mean, I'm gonna guess we can't do that since when we saw the fuse with the bow and arrow, it was only food items that you could do it with. So I'm gonna guess you can't. But like, it'd be
maybe
cool if
they're
you
hiding
could.
that surprise.
It'd be cool if you could. That'd be awesome. I'd be down for it. Yeah. For me, what do I want to fuse? I guess it was gonna be double weapons, like you said. Because I mean, we saw like what was it? A spear? No, it was a long stick and a what's that
The
farming
spears.
tool? It was a long stick, and it was like the farming tool that has the three pikes at the end of it. I'm blanking on the name of it.
Hoe.
Not the hoe. The hoe is the one where it's like
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. Like a
yeah,
pitchfork, kind of.
pitchfork. Yes, it was a long stick and a pitchfork fused together. We saw that, so I'm like, maybe we can see a sword and a sword. That'd
There
be
may be limitations to it. We'll see.
well, we will see. But I'm looking forward to all the fuse stuff. That looks just so cool, like absolutely game changing right there. Tears of the Kingdom, man. I'm on the hype
Let's
train.
go,
I'm
baby.
I'm officially super on the hype train.
I'm
It's gonna
jealous.
be
Nintendo, send me a copy, please. I'm
please.
jealous of all the game. I'm jealous of all the I'm jealous of all the journalists getting to play it probably, and I'm gonna guess about 2 weeks here, maybe three.
Probably 3-ish
Their
weeks or
Nintendo's
so.
not shy. They're gonna give them like a good 2 weeks, I guess, at least before the and that's the thing. The whatchamacallit will probably drop the
Reviews,
no, yeah, but what is it called? The
embargo,
huh?
embargo
The embargo will probably drop, my guess, like maybe a week before the game comes out. And
at
so
earliest, probably like the
uh,
5th, May
yeah.
5th at the
Well,
earliest.
it could be I mean, Nintendo knows it's gonna be good. And so they like that when you know a game is gonna be good, usually you drop the embargo. Like Sony will sometimes do it like 2 weeks before, but I would
Mm-hmm.
guess probably a week before, maybe 3, 4 days at the latest. And then they'll probably give them at least 2 weeks. They know it's a long game. My guess is at least 2 weeks, maybe 2.5, 3-ish, to play it. So yeah, that would put it at, let's say, the fifth 2 weeks. What would that be like?
Middle of April.
Yeah. So like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks tops. These journalists are gonna be getting it. I'm so damn jealous.
Me too,
Nintendo,
man.
send me a copy, please. I'm the
Please and thank you.
biggest Breath of the Wild fan ever. I'm calling your new game the baby goat. Come on, I deserve it.
Do the man a solid. Do him a solid so he could do you a
Just
solid.
let me cry, all right?
Please and thank you.